And last week we looked at this idea that our cell phones are really powerful, really fantastic tools that can be used for God's kingdom. Our smartphones are tools that we can use to connect with other people and reach them with the love of Jesus Christ. And so we simply asked the question, how would God have us use this powerful tool? And we said this. We said God would have us connect with other people, which you guys are awesome at. You guys connect with other people so well with these devices. We said connect with other people the right way, so you're connecting with other people in love, and also make sure you're looking for every opportunity to use this tool for God's kingdom. And we looked at Paul, and we looked at how he went to Athens, and he walked through their area where they had all of their idols. And he didn't just start tearing them apart because they worshiped idols. He found the idol that was to an unknown God, and he said, hey, let me just explain this to you. And he used every tool at his disposal to show people who Christ was. And Paul, today, if he were around, I am convinced would be using smartphones to reach people for Jesus Christ. Now, I brought some tools with me last week. I brought some tools with me again this week. I brought back the Weed Dragon. For those of you that were not here last week, this is my favorite tool just because it's awesome, right? So you hook this end up to a propane tank, you light a match in front of this end, and then squeeze this trigger, and it's like an awesome blowtorch that's much bigger than a blowtorch. So you use it to kill weeds and stuff like that. So I brought the Weed Dragon back with me again tonight. I also brought a post driver. Any of you ever used one of these? A few of you? All right, so I brought up my post driver with me. So basically, the thing is, there's a big empty hole in this. This top end is really heavy. You put it on a post, and then you slam it down in order to drive the post into the ground. So I brought my post driver with me, and I brought one of my other favorite tools, my chainsaw, right? This is a really old chainsaw that my dad gave me. He got it when I was in 6th grade, way back in 1996. And so I brought my chainsaw with me tonight. Here's the thing with tools, is that tools can be super effective at what they do. They can be things that help us get jobs done more quickly. They can be things that help us get jobs done more effectively. They can be incredible, incredible things. Tools are absolutely powerful and incredible, but we have to be careful with tools, because if we're not on guard and we're not guarding ourselves, then we can actually get hurt by tools. And you guys have probably experienced this before. I love the verse that was at the end of this video that we just watched. It's Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. It says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Above all else, guard your heart, because listen, guys, everything you do, every relationship you have, your future relationship with your husband or your wife is going to flow from your heart. Every friendship flows from your heart. Every social media post flows from your heart. Every text, every phone call, every conversation, every decision that you make comes from your heart. And God designed us that way. And so it's important that we guard our heart. I was 12 years old. It was actually 1996. It was the year my dad bought this chainsaw right here. We had a massive storm come through Plainfield. And we had like 6, 8 trees fall down. It was absolutely crazy. And so we spent a good part of that summer cutting up trees. And my dad and I had a pretty good system going. We would take turns with the chainsaw, and one of us would cut, and the other would grab the branch and toss it into the burn pile or toss it for firewood. And so we had this system where one of us would grab the branch and the other one would cut while we were holding the branch, so that, because I'm going to make sure I don't hit your guitar here, Kevin, so that we didn't have to like bend all the way down to the ground, because work smarter, not harder, right? And so you grab the branch. Now, my dad was working with the chainsaw, right? And I was grabbing branches. And I was not doing a very good job guarding myself that day. And I got a little bit too unguarded, a little bit too antsy. And I reached for a branch just as he came down with this chainsaw. And I will never forget the feeling of the reverberation of my thumb bouncing off that chain. Just, right? And so my dad freaked out, shut off the chainsaw, grabbed my hand, wouldn't let me look at my hand, right? Wrapped it up in his shirt. And it was all right, I got to look at it. And I'm one of those guys that if I'm hurt, I want to see it, right? If I'm hurt, if I'm injured, I want to see it. And so I remember him pulling it away, and my thumb was just laid open, you could see the bone and stuff. It was crazy. My thumb is obviously still attached. But here's the thing, is that when we aren't guarded, we can be hurt by other people. Now, my dad didn't do this maliciously, and he took great care of me and got a towel, wrapped it up, held it on there, took me to the hospital. We got stitches, we got everything all taken care of. It was great. But the deal is that when we aren't guarded, we can be hurt by other people with tools. Same is true of this. Some of you have experienced the pain and the hurt that you get from this tool. You've experienced the way that people talk about you on social media. You've experienced those phone calls that just are nasty. You've experienced those text messages that had a level of sarcasm that just made your gut kind of turn. You've experienced the pain that comes from this tool right here. And the difference between pain from a tool like this and pain from a tool like this is that one hurts you physically. I have some scars on my thumb. One hurts your heart. And if we are not guarded with this tool, our hearts can be injured. And an injured heart, if everything we do flows from our heart, an injured heart is going to affect everything that we do. And so we've got to guard our hearts, especially with this tool. And so the question becomes, how do we guard our hearts against getting hurt from other people? And it goes back to the way that we connect with other people. We've got to connect with other people in love. In a day and age where you can post anything on social media and you can post anything your mind comes to as quickly as it can, we have to be guarded to connect with others in love. It affects other people and it affects us. Here's the deal. When we post on social media something that we think in our heads, this is going to stick it to them, we are just asking for people to hurt us. We're asking for the hate to be headed our direction. But it's awful difficult to hurt someone that everything that they do with this tool right here, social media posts, texts, phone calls, FaceTimes, everything they do is done with the love of Christ. It's difficult to attack someone like that. And so one of the best ways we can guard ourselves goes back to last week. The way that we can show people the love of Christ is to connect with them in love. But it also helps us guard ourselves when we are connecting in love and we're not connecting in hate. But the truth is, at some point, even when we do our best to connect in love, we're probably going to be hurt with this tool. And at that point, the best way that we can guard our hearts is to start right now knowing who you are. You guys have heard me say this time and time and time and time again. You are loved. You are valuable. You are precious in God's sight. He has a plan and a purpose for your life. And if you can internalize that and you can believe that and you can know that beyond a shadow of a doubt, when someone shoots shots at you, you can stand there and you can be like, you know what? They're probably just having a really bad day. I know who I am. I know that I'm loved. I know that I'm valuable. And it doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It hurts. But our hearts can heal much more quickly when we know who we are and we're not listening to those voices. We're listening to the people that care about us. We're listening to a God that thinks we are absolutely mind-blowingly incredible. With this tool, we have to guard ourselves against hurt from other people. But we also have to guard ourselves against hurt from ourselves. A few years after I got cut with the chainsaw, I was using this tool, right? I was about 16, 17 years old, right? And I was working out in the back of my dad's field, and we were driving some posts. It was me, my dad, my grandpa, and my dad's brother, Uncle Mark, right? And so we were driving posts. And as a 16, 17-year-old high school guy, I had to show how awesome I was, right? I had to show how powerful I was. I had to show that I could drive posts with the best of these adult men, right? And so it came to my turn, and I had already been driving for a while, and they were like, you want to take a break? No, I got this. And so I slid it over another post, and I slammed it down, and I slammed it down, and I slammed it down. And then one time I lifted it up, and I was getting ready to slam it down. But this little hole right here, the bar's supposed to go in like this, right? It caught right here on this lip, right? So when I went to go slam it down, it went something like this and then like this. And I just crushed my head, right? I immediately collapsed to the ground. Everybody was freaking out. And I remember just kind of getting up and like I'm spitting out pieces of teeth, right? To this day, now my teeth are fine, right? But to this day, you can still see, if you look really close at my teeth, you can still see where the top of my teeth dug into the bottom of my teeth, and there's just these couple rounded marks where my front teeth dug in. And if we're not careful with our tools, we can really hurt ourselves, right? Some of you have experienced the hurt that you bring on yourself with this tool. And again, the difference is my teeth will never be the same, but sometimes the hurt that we bring on ourselves with this tool will never allow our heart to be the same. Some of you are sitting here and you know you're addicted to pornography. You know that at night in a dark room, you go and you look at videos, you look at pictures that you know is damaging your heart. And you just can't bring yourself to say, I need some help. Some of you are sitting here and you're thinking, I'm not addicted to pornography. But you click on video after video after video that's not technically porn, but you're getting a lot of pleasure from it. You're clicking on picture after picture after picture, and you can be honest with yourself that you know that it's hurting you. Some of you are sitting here and you get on social media and you get on the internet and you just look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I don't look like that. And you are comparing yourself. And you are searching and searching for the right clothes, for the right hairstyle, for the right workout, for the right makeup, for the right body type, that if you just had that, and if you're honest with yourself, every time you compare yourself, you're hurting. And guys, we bring this on ourselves so very often. And we damage our heart. And the proverb writer is clear: above all else, guard your heart. Above all else, guard your heart. So the question becomes, how do we guard our heart from ourselves? How do we guard our heart from ourselves? That day that I was driving posts, if I had been a little bit more guarded, if I had taken a break, if I had made sure that I didn't lift up too high, I never would have slammed this down on my head. And in the same way, there are guards that we can put up to keep ourselves from hurting ourselves. If you're struggling with something, please tell a trusted adult. Now, I'm very, very strategic when I say the words trusted adult. Don't go telling your friends. Don't go telling somebody that you don't trust. A trusted adult. We have leaders here that would love to talk to you. I would love to talk to you. This is why we do what we do. Your parents, maybe for you, your parents are a trusted adult. A trusted adult is someone that is going to look at you and they are going to love you and then they are going to help you get better. But you have to tell someone. You have to guard your own heart, and that can be difficult. You have to give that adult permission to ask you how you're doing whenever they feel nudged to ask you how you're doing. You have to set up some accountability for yourself. Maybe for you, that's saying, Mom and Dad, I need you to take my phone before I go to bed every night. Maybe for you, that's saying, man, Mom and Dad, I just need you to look at me and tell me I'm valuable and I'm loved every day because I'm comparing myself to these people and I just can't break out of this mindset that I am worthless. But we have to guard our own hearts. We have to guard our hearts from the hurt that others can bring on us. But we also have to guard our hearts from the hurt that we can bring on ourselves. Because everything we do flows from our hearts. The last thing we have to do, we have to guard our hearts from the burn down. We have to guard our hearts from the burn down. See, what happens is either others are hurting us and we just let it ride, and we don't guard our hearts and we just internalize the hurt and we internalize the pain and we stuff it down and we push it away. Or we're hurting ourselves and we just keep going back and we just keep going back and we don't ask for help and we're too scared, we're too worried, we're too ashamed to get the help that we need. And you know what happens? Everything burns down. You guys, everything we do flows from our hearts, and if we continue to hurt it and damage it, our lives will continue to be hurt and damaged. I brought this last week, and this past year I was using it on our garden, which, not the best idea, right? And so Kirsten was like, hey, we need to get rid of some weeds in our garden. And I was like, I have just the tool to do that. And she rolled her eyes like, this is ridiculous. And she said, you need to be careful with that. You need to make sure that you don't destroy our garden, right? And I'm like, I got this, right? And so I went out to the garden and I started destroying weeds with this awesome tool, right? And pretty soon, like, some of the straw, yes, I was doing this around straw. Some of the straw that was right next to the flame, like, started to catch on fire. And so I very quickly looked around and, like, spotted it out. Now, you would think, CJ, that is a pretty big red flag. You should probably just stop using the tool. No, No, this is an awesome tool, and I continued to use it. And Kirsten came out, and what I didn't realize was that, like, right over here behind me, the straw had caught on fire, and, like, it had started to spread, and then it had started to get close to her plants, which was a huge mistake. She came out, she's like, "What are you doing?" And I turned around, I'm like, I got it. And so I stomped it out. Well, here's the thing is that, guys, if we would just slow down, if we would just guard ourselves, if we would just ask for help, we avoid a lot of the burn down. But so often, what we do is we say, "Cut me again." So often what we do is we say, "All right, I want to slam myself in the head again." And the proverb writer is clear. Above all else, guard your heart, because everything you do flows from your heart. We have to be guarded with this tool. And the way we guard against the burn down is everything we've been talking about. But there's one key thing to guard against the burn down. You ready for it? Have the courage to change. Have the courage to change. Have the courage to say, I've been posting stuff on Facebook, on Twitter, on Snapchat, just to stick it to people, and it's just coming back to bite me in the butt. It's just hurting me. And so I'm going to stop. And I'm going to tell someone, if you see me post something that is negative or offensive, I want you to tell me so I can take it down. That takes courage. Have the courage to go to somebody and say, "I'm hurting myself. I'm looking at things I shouldn't. I've had this comparison game going on in my head, and I just can't break it." That takes courage. But it's in the midst of those courageous conversations that your heart begins to heal. It's in the midst of those courageous conversations that you stop further damage. When I cut my thumb, my dad immediately wrapped my thumb up, immediately started caring for me. When I slammed myself in the head, like all four men immediately came around me and carried me up to the house because they were super afraid that I had severely damaged myself. And when you have courageous conversations with a trusted adult, they can come around you and they can support you and they can lift you up and they can help your heart heal. That's not easy. But it's so worth it. I can honestly tell you guys, I have been on both sides of a damaged heart. And when you experience the love and the support and the healing that comes from being on this side of a damaged heart and this side of a damaged heart, you never want to go back to this side of the damaged heart. Because you realize how everything you do flows from your heart, how important your heart is, and how a healed heart is so vital to the life that you are seeking. We have to guard ourselves. We have to guard ourselves against hurt from others. We have to guard ourselves against hurt from ourselves. And we have to guard ourselves against the burn down. I give a really practical challenge this week. And this week it's simply a question. The question is, where do you need to guard yourself in relationship to this powerful tool that we call a smartphone. For some of you, you need to take an honest look at how others are hurting you. And you need to guard yourself against the hurt that they are bringing into your life. You need someone to speak value into your life on a daily basis. You need to guard yourself against some of the social media posts. Some of you, you need to guard yourself against hurt from yourself. Maybe you need to admit some things to a trusted adult and ask them for help. Some of you just need to have the courage to change. And so, my practical challenge this week: have a conversation. Have a conversation. Have a conversation with a trusted adult that says, here's where I need to guard my heart. It takes courage. But healing starts when we have courage. So this week, ask yourself this question: what's the biggest area you need to guard your heart? And then have a conversation with a trusted adult. Check out this video and then the band can come on up.